Hello everyone, in this tutorial we will be transferring the pattern to fabric. Position the center front and side front in opposite directions. Add 0.5 inch seam allowance along the areas guided by my finger movements. From the half length, extend the length to the hem by 4 inches. For the side front, add 1.5 inch seam allowance at the hem. Extend the length by 4 inches on both the side and center. Mark the center extension line, then add 1.5 inch hem allowance. The side seam allowances should be 1.5 inches and it stops at the half length. Add 0.5 inch seam allowance around all other areas. Once marked, proceed to cut out the fabric. Here are the back patterns placed on the fabric. This is the side back. It has a 1.5 inch hem allowance and 4 inches extensions along the sides. Next we have the center back, which has a 1 inch zipper allowance and 0.5 inch seam allowance in other areas. From the half length, extend the lines down. On the side piece, add a 1.5 inch seam allowance stopping at the half length, then extend downwards with 0.5 inch seam allowance around the remaining areas. Displayed here are the front and back pieces neatly cut out. Mark 21 inches as the starting point for the pockets with a pocket length of 9 inches. Place a fabric underneath to trace out the pocket shape as shown. Now lay the pocket cut out over the main fabric in position. You will need 4 pieces. Be sure to notch the starting point for accuracy. For an invisible pocket method, treat this yellow lining as if it were the main fabric. Cut the lining fabric up to the pocket stop length. You will also need 2 short pockets for this method. A quick demo on how to sew. Place 1 short pocket beneath the long one and the other short pocket over it as shown. Sew the top edge with a ½ inch seam allowance. Flip the short pocket to the wrong side and align the pockets to match the main fabric as shown. At this point, ensure the top edge has been neatly ironed flat. Pin the pocket in position, bend it backward as demonstrated and highlight the line for sewing the short pockets. Sew along the marked line, then flip the pocket back into its proper position. Attach the pearl fringe applique and top stitch along the sides to secure it. The pearls and studs may fall off once the yard is cut. Put them aside to be tacked back on later. Finally, sew the side front onto the center front as shown. Due to insufficient fabric, a visible pocket design is used for this project. For the visible pocket, start by sewing the top edge with hemming gum using a 0.5 inch seam allowance. After sewing, notch the edge and flip it into position. To ensure a clean finish, you can further flatten the edge by top stitching the seam allowance. Next, overlock the opened edge. Cut out an applique to match the pocket width, removing the beads 0.75 inches away from the sewing areas. Keep the removed beads aside for tacking later. Double fold the applique net and top stitch it in place for a neat finish. Now position the pocket on the main fabric using the notches as your guide. Fold the pocket edge by 0.5 inch. Mark the line it will be top stitched on and make a rule to guide your stitching. Then go ahead to top stitch as demonstrated. You can place hemming gum around the area and iron to flatten it, ensuring a clean finish. One side front is already attached to the center front. we will attach the second side front. Align the hem and ensure the pockets on both sides are matching perfectly. Use a tape measure to reconfirm for accuracy. Once you are certain everything is aligned, place the right sides together. Pin some areas in place, then sew from the hem upward with a 0.5-inch seam allowance, continuing all the way to the shoulder. When you are done sewing, create notches to release tension. Flip the fabric to the right side and top stitch the pockets along the side as shown. Now for the back pieces, place the side back onto the center back, ensuring the edges are aligned. Sew with a 0.5-inch seam allowance, starting from the hem and continuing to the shoulder, then notch the seam allowances afterwards. Flip the pieces to the right side. Next, take the already sewn lining, place it right sides together with the back piece, align the neckline, sew the neckline with hemming gum using a 0.5-inch seam allowance, then notch the seams. Bring in the front piece, place its sewn lining over it, right sides together and sew along the neckline with a 0.5-inch seam allowance. Notch the seams, then flip it to the right side. For the armhole, place the right sides together as shown and sew with a 0.5-inch seam allowance, stopping 2 inches before the side seam. Notch the armhole curve and turn it to the right side. Next, align the corresponding back piece with the front. Place the back piece over the front, right sides together as usual. Sandwich the front shoulder between the back shoulder layers as shown. Sew with a 0.5-inch seam allowance. Trim any excess and turn it to the right side. You will notice that all the raw edges are neatly enclosed. The remaining 0.5-inch seam allowance around the armhole, place right sides together and sew it closed, once again stopping about 2 inches from the side seam. Once done, turn it to the right side and admire how the armhole and shoulder line align smoothly. Repeat the same process for the other shoulder. Next, for the sides, separate the main fabric from the lining. Place the main fabric right sides together. Mark a 1-inch sewing allowance and identify the half length. Mark 1 inch at the half length as well, then gradually reduce the sewing allowance. Pay attention to the beaded applique as you sew. Next, place the lining piece together and sew in the same manner. Move the dress to the side to close the gap. Fold the seam allowance into a triangular shape as shown, then sew across it. Notch the seams and turn the fabric to the right side. And here's how the armhole looks like after sewing, clean and neatly finished. Now go ahead to join the other side. Once that's done, we will move on to turning the hem. The lining is 2 inches shorter than the main fabric. Place the pieces right sides together and ensure the seam lines are properly matched for balance and accuracy. To double check, I am laying the dress flat on the table to confirm that the 2-inch difference is consistent all around the hem. Here is an extra tip. Trim off any pointy edges about 0.5 inch to ensure the hem is nicely curved. Next, sew along the hemline with a hemming gum attached. When you're done sewing, turn it to the right side. you will notice the main fabric rolling slightly to the wrong side like this. To ensure a smooth finish, go in and notch the seam allowance to release tension around the hemline. 20 inches is the zipper stop point. Sew a loose stitch, back stitch at the stop point and sew with a regular stitch to the hem. Turn the piece inside out and you can now insert your zipper. Finally, top stitch the applique around the neckline and this project is complete. Don't miss the concluding part of this series where we'll be making the cape. If you found this tutorial helpful, please drop a comment, like, share and subscribe. See you in the next one. Bye.